Let me guess. You want to know more about breeding ball pythons? What's up, YouTube? So in this video, I actually want to capture 10 different things that you might need to know before you start breeding ball pythons. I obviously have a bunch of videos over this topic and breaking it down individual parts, but I kind of want to talk about it all in one video. And then obviously, if you choose that you want to know about each individual topic, you can obviously go through my playlist on ball python tips and go crazy. I mean, just watch everything you got in there and figure out everything you can figure out. There's a lot of videos, and there's like 17, 18 videos or something in there. And it may be a couple hours that you're watching, but it's a couple hours that's going to be beneficial to you and learning everything you need to know before you start breeding ball pythons. And I tell this to everyone that wants to get into breeding. Do your research. Do your research. Do your research. I don't know how many times I have to say it to people, and people still don't do the research. They still keep coming to me or other breeders and asking, hey, what is this? What do I do with this? Blah, blah, blah. What's the best pairing? Do your research. There's so many things out there, so many tools and resources you have that can teach you everything you need to know before you even pair your first snakes, before you even buy your first snakes. So in this video, like I said, 10 different things before you breed your ball pythons, and honestly, even before you buy them. So if you already have pets, that's different. Don't breed your pets. I always tell people, if you have pets, especially if they're normal, if you don't know what their heads are, don't breed them. But maybe this will help you decide what to buy after you decide you want to breed. So let's get going. Tip number one is, I guess this is two. So tip number one is, don't buy anything until you know exactly what you want to breed. So there's people out there that like lavender albino, there's people out there that like clown, there's people out there that like pied. Depending on what it is you like might determine what it is you want to breed for. So don't buy anything just because it's cool. Buy stuff because you actually like what it is. You actually want to deal with it. You actually want to build your collection around it. So do that before you actually buy anything. Figure out what it is you actually want to breed for. For me, it was pieds. For me, it was banana. So I have a lot of banana stuff. I have a lot of pied stuff. My pieds are mostly inchy pieds and mostly pinstripe pieds because I also like pieds that are going to be high in pattern. Obviously, there's a chance they're going to be not so high in pattern, but for the most part, inchy and pinstripe pieds are pretty high in pattern. So I have things for exanthic pieds, clown pieds. Tip number two is give yourself adequate space for everything that you're going to be pairing. So now you have decided what you want to pair for. Now you have started buying your snakes. Now you have to decide, do I have enough space? Most people are going to do this in their bedroom that is empty in their house. Most people are going to have a basement or a building that they have planned to reconstruct or something like that for their projects. For me, I actually have a building that I have reptiles in, my bearded dragons, my ball pythons, and I have a pair of Ackie monitors in here too. And I also got rats in here. It's a lot of stuff, and for a while there, I was doing great, and then I started realizing that it was getting a little crowded, and I had to rearrange my whole building to give myself a little bit of breathing room because I was like, I can't do this anymore. Every time I walked in here, I felt like I was walking into a mess, so I cleaned it up and made sure that I actually liked the way it looked. So make sure that when you are getting ready to actually breed and you're buying everything, that you are giving yourself adequate space for what you are actually going to be breeding and all your products you're going to have. So make sure you have enough racks for the babies because on average, every female that breeds will lay about 6 eggs. Some of them will lay more, some of them will lay less. If you have a first-time female that's laying, also if you have a first-time male that's breeding, you may have less eggs than normal, but that is also just based off the averages, because I've had females that are the first time moms lay over 6 eggs, and I've had females that are not the first time laying and they've laid under 6 eggs. So it really just depends. Tip number three is make sure you are investing properly. What I mean by that, you've already bought your snakes. You've already figured out where you're going to be keeping everything. You've already started buying everything to keep what you already have. The thing after that, once you start breeding, people get to the point where they're like, you know what? I have 6 eggs. As soon as they hatch, I'm going to try to get them to eat, and I'm going to sell them all off. Figure out what it is you want to continue doing in your projects. because there may be something in that clutch that you need to hold back. And I'll make a video separately about what I look for in holdbacks. But when I say invest properly, it also means make sure you're not spending money you don't need to spend. So if you have a clutch of 6, let's say for example you're into the lavender clown project. You have a lavender clown male, so you already spent quite a bit of money on that male, and you bred him to a few females to see if they were going to prove out. You have a few females that are 66% double het. So you bred him to 2 females or 3 females or however many females to see which ones proved out. The thing about that is, now all of your offspring are going to be double het regardless of if they're visuals. So all the non-visual offspring are going to be double het. Those are going to be very nice offspring in my opinion. Most people you're going to sell them to, they're going to look at it and say it's a normal snake. They're not going to want to spend that money. But the people that do, they're going to know that they're getting a double het lavender clown female or male or whatever it is, and you are going to make quite a bit of money off of that. But once you sell everything off, you're going to be like, dang it, I should have kept a couple females that were double het. Or maybe I should have kept another male that was a lavender clown, so I didn't work one male to death or something like that. You have to consider all of these possibilities after your clutch hatches before you start selling your snakes off, because most people are going to be like, oh, I can just reinvest the money and buy something else. Don't do that. There's no need for you to sell something for $2,000 just to go spend $2,000 on a different animal that is going to fit in the same project. So I know it doesn't make sense, but you know exactly where you're getting that animal from because it's coming from your pairing versus the other animal that you're selling. There may be a chance that somebody's lying to you. There may be a chance that you're not actually getting what you think you're getting. Number 4 is don't overwork your males. Male ball pythons, when they get in breeding mode, they go without eating. I have some that went without eating for 4 months. And they can do that. I'm not saying they should, but they can do that. But once they get to that point, you got to make sure you're not overworking them, because they're not eating, they're not getting their nutrients, they're not getting the minerals they need or energy they need to make sure they can continue breeding. So maybe when you get to that point, you scale back on that project. And that's why it's also good to have several breeders that you can use for the same project, because if one of them gets worn down, the other one's going to be able to back it up. Number 5 is going to be, don't feed your female ball pythons very big meals, mainly because you're gonna be like, if I get meals in her, she'll develop good follicles, she'll strive, and she will lay big clutches. And what I actually learned is it's the opposite. If you get really big meals in them, or even if they're adequate size meals, if they're already developing follicles and they eat a meal that's big enough to stop them from growing those follicles any further, then that's just gonna make them reabsorb their follicles, and then you're not gonna get a clutch just because you wanted to feed them. So is feeding them actually worth getting no eggs? So there's a certain point where they're going to be like, all right, this is either you got to stop feeding them, or you're going to have to start feeding them very small meals. So you can do, if they're eating mediums on the regular basis, you can do a small. If they're eating smalls on the regular basis, maybe feed them weaned. If you're feeding them smalls every week, maybe feed them smalls every 2 weeks, so they actually have a chance to digest the food and actually have a chance to reject it if they're not hungry. Because sometimes the females, when they're in that in-between stage, they think they got to eat like that in order to make sure they're not getting hungry later on. So if you're giving them time to digest the food, maybe in a week or so, they're going to be like, all right, this is when I cut it off, I don't need to eat anymore. Number 6, be prepared to lose the first, second, maybe even the 3rd year. This is my 2nd year breeding, and so far I haven't lost a lot. I had 2 reabsorptions that I think one of them I could have prevented, but the other one, there was nothing I could have done. This girl actually, she was doing real good. I could actually palpate and feel all the eggs she had, and then all of a sudden, they were gone. And she wasn't eating. She actually was eating very good before that, and then about a month before she reabsorbed, she stopped eating, which usually they can do that anyways when they're about to ovulate, so they'll stop eating right before they ovulate. So I thought that's what was about to happen. She was about to ovulate, and then we were going to be smooth sailing from then on. It's been 2 months since that happened, and I haven't felt any eggs since. So obviously, she reabsorbed. So that's why I say be prepared to lose, because you may count on those eggs, you may count on that clutch, and then you end up getting nothing from her or nothing from that pairing, and then what are you going to do? So be prepared to lose, not only in that sense, but in the fact that you're also going to lose a lot of money, because you're going to say, Well, the odds are saying 1 in 8 eggs is going to be this snake, and 1 in 4 eggs is going to be this snake. And if I do this and do that and blah, 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 you're going to get yourself into a bind because you're going to be like, oh, this clutch is going to be $6,000 easily. And you're like, oh, it's only 1 in 8 that I'm going to get normals. I got 8 eggs, so it's only going to be 1 egg that is going to be a normal. Everything else is going to be something else. You get that clutch hatching, and it's going to be 4 out of 8 eggs that are normals, and you're like, damn, I screwed that one up, didn't I? So you get 4 eggs that are not normals, and they're actually not even the eggs that you wanted to get. So last year, I actually had a clutch of 3 eggs. 3 eggs. One of them was an Inchy Calico. One of them was a banana cinnamon, and the other one was a banana cinnamon Inchy Calico. So the one that was a banana cinnamon Inchy Calico, he was actually going to be a holdback, and I was going to use him this year. The Inchy Calico I sold, the banana cinnamon I sold, and after I sold the Inchy Calico, the banana Inchy Calico cinnamon passed away. And I was like, what the heck? I was so mad because that was my holdback. That was going to be the one that I was going to keep and use this year. So I was just like, I don't even know what I was talking about now, but that was a loss for me because I was going to hold that guy back, and now I don't have him. Tip number 8, make a name for yourself. So make a presence of yourself, whether it be on social media, whether it be on YouTube, whatever it is, TikTok, whatever you got. Make a presence of yourself so people know that in the future, you're going to be bringing some heat to the table. Number 9 is going to be socialize. Now, socializing could be just, you're already on social media, so obviously you're already socializing. But socializing can also be going to shows and talking to other breeders. Number 10 is don't be afraid to ask questions. You may not want to feel like an idiot. You may not want to feel like somebody that doesn't know anything. But if you don't ask questions, you're never going to get an answer. So if you don't know about something, if you've never experienced it, or if you're about to experience it and you have no idea what's going to happen, ask questions to someone who's gone through it several times. So whether it be a seasoned breeder or whether it be a buddy of yours that's already gone through it, it doesn't matter as long as they know the answer, as long as they give you a good answer. So don't be afraid to ask questions, because if you don't ask questions, you're never going to know the answer. That's all the tips I got for you. There's a lot more stuff that you need to know. There's a lot more stuff that you're going to experience that I'm not going to be able to tell you, because it may not be something that everybody experiences, but it may be something that you experience on your own. So with all that said, hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully you liked everything I had to say. Like I said, I appreciate you watching. That's all I got. Peace.